When they say she get it from her mama, I'ma say you got it right. Body with a slump like don't be in the humble type. Tell me, is you down? Cause I'm tryna go good tonight. Posing, hope you said the right. I just wanna live in a fantasy.
Hey, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Tatiana, and we are back with another stay-at-home mom diary entry. Before we get into this video, you guys, make sure you go subscribe, turn on the notifications, and give this video a big thumbs up. By the title of this video, you guys know today we are going to be talking about 3 limiting beliefs, aka fears, that I've just decided to surrender to God because I don't want to hold on to these fears. I don't want for these fears to hold me back from reaching the next level of my life, and God already knows that these are things that are bothering me, so why not just give them to Him, allow for them to work on them so that they are no longer fears or no longer limiting beliefs or no longer things that I allow to mentally block me and mentally hold me back. But before we get fully into this video, you guys know I gotta hit you with the verse of the day. So the verse of the day, you guys, is coming to you from Proverbs chapter 31 verse 30, and it says, "Charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised." So basically, I kind of just feel like that is self-explanatory. Like, our beauty is only going to last so long on the outside. The way that we look, our charm is only going to last for so long. But the way that we fear the Lord, the way that we are obedient to God, the way that we humble ourselves under God's authority and just try to live our life in every single way that He says that we're supposed to, that is more pleasing to the Lord than anything else. Like, your beauty is gonna fade eventually, your charm is gonna fade eventually, but a woman who fears the Lord, and not fear in a bad way, but fears the Lord in a respectable way to really let Him lead and guide her in every decision and every action that she makes, that woman is to be praised forever and ever, even in heaven. So as I always say, God is amazing. Get some Jesus in your life. But today we are going to go ahead and talk about these fears, and I want to encourage you to drop a fear that you have or a limiting belief that you have in the comments that you no longer want to take over you, that you no longer want to claim as a fear or a limiting belief, and just something that you are just ready to give to God so that it no longer is an issue in your life. And I've been thinking about these 3 things really heavily, especially as of lately, being that the girls are getting ready to go back to school, I'm getting ready to go back to work, and just having certain thoughts in my head that I feel like are limiting beliefs, but also fears that the devil wants to make me to believe, to keep me trapped in these thoughts that I no longer want to be trapped in. So let's go ahead and get into the first thought. Is when my kids are not with me, something's going to happen to them. I feel like I was raised, my mom kind of like instilled a fear in me from the time that I was younger about certain things. And one of the things that she made me fear was that kids shouldn't go certain places without their parents. Kids shouldn't be around certain people because nobody can take care of you the way that your mom takes care of you. Nobody is going to make sure that you're protected the way that a mother protects her kids. Like, anything can happen to your kids when they're not around you, so you just never want to let them go certain places, or you never want to let them go too far because anything can happen. And although that might be true, anything can happen to your children, although it might be true that there's no love like a mother's love, I also feel like there's no love and there's no protection and there's no covering like God's love, God's covering, and God's protection. And it's just a terrible feeling to have when your kids go somewhere, whether they go to school or, like right now, my kids are on an extended vacation before they go back to school, with their last week, with this week being their last week of summer break. I've allowed them to go spend time at their at my in-laws' house with their grandfather and grandmother, but that's in Los Angeles, which is 3.5 hours away from me. And if something happens, I can't necessarily get to them like that, the way that I would be able to if they were inside of the same city that I was at, or if I was with them and something was to happen. And it's like, I just don't want to have that fear that when they're away from me with people that I trust. Of course, I'm not going to send them with somebody that I think they would be in danger with. I wouldn't send them into situations where I know or feel that they would be harmed. But if I'm sending them with a family member that I trust, with somebody that they're comfortable with, if I'm sending them to school, if I'm, you know, they went to summer camp this summer, if they are anywhere outside of my actual reach, if they're anywhere outside of my actual view, I don't want to have that negative thought that, or the fearful thought that if they're somewhere without me, something's going to happen to them. And that's just one of the things that I want to be better at, with just surrendering, not be better at it, but just fully surrender that fear. And just trust that when I'm praying over my kids, that those prayers are going to cover them when they're not in front of me, that when I'm teaching my kids certain things, that they're going to remember the things that I'm teaching them. They're going to remember the ways that I'm raising them when they're not with me, so that they remember to, you know, conduct themselves as little girls in certain ways, or they just remember certain things that I have taught them that they're gonna need to know when they're not with me. And I don't have to worry because I've already prayed about it. I've already given it to God. God's gonna cover them. God's gonna protect them. God's gonna make sure that they're remembering things that their mom has taught them in the moments that they need to remember them, that they're gonna apply what it is that I've taught them in the moments that they need to apply it. And I don't have to worry about them not being in my care, because all I can do is pray about it and trust that the Lord is going to cover my kids, whether they're at school starting back. We all know all of the things that have happened in school with the different school shootings and things like that. Or the teaching for me was always that if you're at school, be careful around, you know, certain men teachers, be careful around men teachers, or like men janitors, like don't be in the bathroom by yourself. Like it was always a teaching that something could possibly happen. So you want to make sure you're watchful. And while I agree with being watchful, I just don't want to mistake being watchful with being fearful. Like I don't want to scare my kids into thinking that something's going to happen to you because you're around a man, for an example, and just trusting that my prayers and God's covering is enough for them to be safe, whether I'm with them or not. The second mental block, aka fear, that I'm surrendering is that if I go back to work part-time, that means that I'm not trusting God in my career as an entrepreneur. And I feel like that is definitely a big one for entrepreneurs, because I've gone back and forth with this plenty of times, and I've shared this even with you guys in videos before, that I quit my job initially in 2018. And with entrepreneurship, you just never know. It doesn't matter what venture you decide to pursue. With entrepreneurship, you never know what your money is going to look like sometimes. Some months it could be up, some months it could be down, some months it could be in between. But when you're not prepared financially, meaning you don't prepare for the times where you are in between or down, there could be some times where your faith starts to get kind of shaky. Like, should I go back to work, or should I just sit right here in what it is that I'm doing, whatever it is that you're doing, to continue to trust that God's going to provide for you the ways that he has before. And with that specific statement, God will provide for me, it's made it hard for me to be joyful in going back to work. I tried it last year, and I don't know if my mind was in the right space, but it didn't help. It didn't make me feel fulfilled with going back to work. Maybe because I was trying to force it and it wasn't just coming naturally. Also, granted, last year I was in such a place where I was trying to do things on my own, and I wasn't always seeking God to guide me for what to do, given where I was in my year last year. But I also was telling myself that if I go back to work, I'm not trusting that God can provide for me in what it is that he's called me to. But I feel like that can be a mental block, as well as a limiting belief and fear, because God wants for us to live in abundance. I feel like God wants for us to have financial overflow. And for some people, God has given you the ability to be able to do both. And I feel like it's just a choice that we have to make. If you do have the ability to do both, go to work and still spend time in what God has called you to. Like me, for example, I work with the school district and I have the ability to be able to use my resource that God has given me with the school district to still be able to go to work part-time and still be able to focus on being a content creator. But I've made up in my mind at some point that if I go back to work, I'm not trusting God, when really the thought that I want to have is that if God gave me a resource to bring in more income, I want to show him that I'm thankful for the resource that he has given me, instead of sitting in a space where I might need or want more financially and I'm sitting on my hands choosing not to go to work because I have it in my mind that I don't trust God if I do go back to work, instead of telling myself, God's given me this resource, use it because he's given it to you. The third limiting belief, aka fear and mindset block, that I want to completely surrender is if God did not give me something, or he did not answer with a yes to the thing that I wanted or something that I was wanting to happen in my timing, that it means that I did something wrong or he just doesn't want to give it to me. And I feel like there's so many different ways to look at that instead of the negative or limiting belief or block that won't take you to your next level. Instead, it can be looked at as, if God hasn't given it to me yet, it's because he's preparing me and developing me into becoming the person that I need to be, not just to get the thing that I asked him for, but to keep what it is that I've asked him for. The other way that it can be looked at is, if God has not given it to you, maybe he does not want you to have that specific thing, or maybe he does not want to give you a yes to that specific thing because he has something so much bigger and so much better for you, that what it was that you were asking for could not have even touched what it was that he actually wanted to do, what he actually wanted to give. And that is a great thing, because the last thing that I want is for God to give me something just because I asked for it and I wasn't the person that I needed to be to keep that blessing. The last thing that I want is for God to tell me yes to something that I was not even prepared for what it was that I was asking for. So instead of me thinking that I did something wrong, or God just doesn't like me, God doesn't love me, God doesn't hear me, instead of thinking all of those negative things, how can I prepare myself? How can I wait well to show God that I'm not going to throw a tantrum because you didn't give it to me? I'm not going to go be upset in the corner somewhere. I might be a little disappointed because you didn't answer me in my timing, but God's timing is always better than ours. It says in the Bible in Jeremiah 29:11 that God has plans to prosper us, plans to give us a great future and a greater hope. So being that he has plans to prosper us, why would we be upset when he does not give us what we want in our timing? Being that he has plans to give us a great future and a great hope, why would we be, anything but happy that he kept from us what we wanted or what we thought we wanted, and instead thanking him for what it is that we don't know, because he sees the bigger picture. He has plans to prosper us, plans to give us a great future and a great hope. And our plans be so small to what God's plans are. And they always say, when you think that you have plans, tell God your plans and watch him show you how your plans mean nothing according to his will for your life. So I've just been trying to ask God to to help me to want for me what he wants for me, to help me to wait well in his timing. And when things don't go according to how I want them to go, it's not necessarily because I've done something wrong or because he just don't like me, but because he's preparing me. He loves me so much. He loves us so much that he's not going to give us something that we can't handle, that the person who we are asking for the blessing that we're asking for can't handle. But instead, he's going to continue working on us. He's going to continue molding us. And if he has not given it to us, he either don't want us to have it in that timing, or he wants us to have something so much better. So I hope all of these transparenting, limiting beliefs, aka mental blocks, aka fears of mine, that I am surrendering to God and letting him work on so that they no longer be something that bothers me. I hope my transparency helped y'all in any type of way. Again, I'm challenging you to drop in the comments what you feel like your limiting belief, aka negative mindset blocks or fears are for yourself, what you're surrendering, and what it is that you want to give to God to no longer be a bother in your life. But that's going to be it for this video, you guys. I hope you enjoyed. Drop below if you could resonate with anything that I shared in this video. And if you haven't done this yet, make sure you go subscribe, turn on the notifications, and give this video a big thumbs up. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.